Hello and welcome to ParmesanPalms World. Today I'm sharing with you the shaving portion of my son's recent foot maintenance. Yesterday I posted the real-time soaking and scraping. Today I'm going to share with you the shaving portion in real time, and tomorrow I'll post the toe clipping and final details also in real time. If you don't want to see feet or calluses or blades or callus removal or anything to do with podiatry or dermatology, please swipe past now or block me, because this is what I post.
Produce coins faster. Okay, that's actually super awesome. Speaking of collecting coins.
Okay, well, that's enough of that. I just really wanted you guys to hear what the background sound was like, because there is some portion of my followers who perceive that this perhaps could be a nefarious thing on my part, like I'm hiding the original audio because he's wailing or crying or like being tortured in the background, and that just simply is not the case. I guess I could have faked that sound there, but that's the proof I have, the only proof I have, that this is not like a horrible experience for my son. In fact, from my own experience, I know it feels really great to like release the foot from all that tightness and thickness of the calloused skin. It feels really wonderful. We did have a small problem this time where the urea made his skin so soft and his nerves so much more sensitive through the skin because it was so soft that he was really ticklish. And that has not been an issue in previous shaves, but as you can see here as I'm going along, he's fine with it, and all of a sudden his foot will start twitching or his toes will start curling and he'll start like involuntarily jerking it backward. And I'm not holding his foot very hard here. I'm not forcing him to do this. But he is going to like react to the feeling of being tickled in a natural way, which is to sort of jump or like retract. And I allow that, I will reach his foot and pull it back toward me and begin to work on it again. But as you can see, he is voluntarily leaving his foot in my hands, even when he recoils for a second because, mom, it tickles. But he's not running and screaming away, and he does continually let me keep going. I just have to say like, oh, do you need a break? Or, okay, hold on, let me just take a break for a sec, and then we'll come back at it, which is also why this video is cut so much, because frequently I would do a scrape, and then he would like wiggle and giggle, and then, we just take a breath, and then I start back in again, and we repeat that process like 100 times. But ultimately, he wants to shave his feet as much as I want to shave his feet, and so he's there for it. I mean, it might have been a different and slightly uncomfortable experience this time because of all the ticklishness, but neither of us expected that to happen. And in the future, we will not be using the foot soak from FootLogix because of the increased sensitivity. In basically all other situations, increased sensitivity would be a desirable thing, but when it hinders the removal process, it's not. And in my entire lifetime experience and all the previous times I've done my son's feet, soaking in water for a little bit longer does the exact same thing as soaking in the foot soak for a shorter period of time, and it doesn't lead to extreme hypersensitivity. So I can do this more like I'm doing here on his heel right now, where it's not tickling him very much. Oh, I guess that part was tickling him. But for the most part, when I'm doing these big swipes, not in the like crook of the foot where it's the most ticklish or up by the toes, he was pretty much okay. And in the future, we're just going to soak in water when we do this. But also in the future, people have asked a lot of people asked, why didn't we use the cheese grater file on his feet instead of shaving? And the answer is that I still am not really that well versed in it, and I really don't want to hurt him. I have 20 years of experience using this shaver tool. I know exactly how deep to go, how to swipe, what direction to go, how to even it out. Like, there is no question. I could do this in my sleep, honestly, which is, I can do my own hands and feet while I'm like watching a movie and barely paying attention because I'm that, well versed in using it. The cheese grater is kind of foreign to me. I've experimented with it once on the heel of my foot. And pretty soon here, I'm going to be experimenting with the cheese grater on my whole foot. In fact, I'm going to experiment on both of my feet. One of my feet is grown out like 4 months. The other foot is grown out about a month. And I'm going to try it both dry and soaked and see like what's the best result. And of course, I'm going to take you guys along on that journey. And once I feel more comfortable knowing exactly how deep I can go with it, what sort of pressure to use, whether it's more effective soaked or dry, for our specific type of skin, then I will feel comfortable experimenting on his feet with it. And maybe it will prove to be a much more effective and quick way to get the skin off, or maybe it will prove to be not as useful. I mean, I don't know until I know, and I'm not going to do anything on him first because I can't get the feedback through his skin that I can get through my own skin. Like when I'm working, that makes sense to you guys, right? Like when I'm working on my own feet, I can feel if I'm going too deep. I can feel if it's uncomfortable to do it, versus with him, I can only go by visual or his response. And I would hate to be going by visual and think I'm doing fine and then have him in pain. So we're not going to do that. We'll get there. In the meantime, his feet really needed to be done. And this is what we did. Same thing we've done always. And unfortunately, we used that foot soak with the urea that made his feet a little bit extra ticklish. But, I think of my kids as little human beings, like they're actually people, and I actually give them choices. I like to give them as much autonomy over their own bodies as possible, outside of being like, you really do have to bathe or groom yourself. You have to brush your teeth. Like, I'm the enforcer of these things. But beyond basic hygienic things that I do need to walk them through as a mother, I'm not going to force decisions on them that they don't want to make. That's draconian and unfair. I don't want to be that type of authoritative parent. So, that's also why sometimes it takes so long between shaving his hands or feet, because if he really just doesn't want to do it, I'm not going to force it. I might remind him over and over, like, look, we really got to do your feet soon. They're looking really tight and stiff, and we're putting way more lotion on them than normal. Like, it's time to do it. But ultimately, I have to wait for the day when I say, today would be a good day for a foot shave. Are you ready to do it? I have to wait for him to say, yes, I'm ready to do it. Let's do it. And that gives him control over his own condition. And so when we are doing it, he's volunteering for it. I've suggested it 100 times and he finally said yes. So here we are.